Warning, the following podcast is brought to you by dads who are still wondering what's in the mystery jar in the fridge. Welcome to the All Pro Dad Podcast.
Hey, welcome to All Pro Dad Podcast. My name is Ted Lowe, and I'm joined today by Mr. B.J. Foster, Mr. Bobby Lewis.
What's up, man?
Together we have 9 kids and a whole lot of questions. Bobby, you're for sure too young to remember this, but B.J. maybe you're not. But at the end of every news program, there was they would do this thing. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, I just think the bar has so changed. You don't even start asking until 10 p.m. But anyway, like now, it's just the comparison of now that dads spend around 3 to 4 times more time with their children each day compared to men in the 70s and 80s. I don't think that gets said enough. I think we are trying more than ever.
Yeah, trying more, around more, but I do think that leads to a couple of issues. Like, 20, 25 years ago, the term helicopter parent was first beginning to be used for parents who were around more, but also because they were around, they're like, hey, look over little Timmy's shoulder all the time. Make sure that we don't have any issues and that you never struggle. And that was really not a great thing for kids.
That was your parents. That was like the millennial parents.
I'm not going to badmouth my mom and dad on this podcast at all. I will not do that. But it wasn't just a handful of people. It's a movement that got a term because so many parents were probably out of good nature, wanting their kids to succeed and not wanting them to get hurt. But, that kind of limited children. And then flash forward to 2018, the term lawnmower parent came along. I don't know if you've heard that one, but lawnmower parent was essentially, let's not introduce any struggles at all. Let's kind of clear a path for our kids so that they don't ever trip, they don't ever fall, they don't ever get in trouble or whatever. And that's not a good thing either.
Well, around that time that lawnmower came out, I remember Bulldozer parents is kind of, it's similar, but takes it even further. So it's, instead of just kind of making sure the kid is safe, it's like, let's just push everything that's a possible challenge out of the way so that my kid is rises to the top and is the ultimate winner in every time. And
so is it parents that go to coaches and teachers just to bulldoze out of the way? Is that what that means?
Yeah. Yeah. Or if any other kid, presents a challenge, whatever the challenge is, they're going to push.
If I can do something, I'm going to.
If I can do something, I'm going to.
This homework's too hard, so I'll just do it for you. Or okay. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And then it's I think the latest thing would be the drone parent. And that's the parent that uses technology to track every little thing and to be kind of in the micro of all aspects of your kid's life.
Is that you?
So, no.
You did. That sounded very defensive.
So here's the deal. Here's the confession. I did download Life 360. My wife and I downloaded it because we were leaving states and leaving our 17-year-old home alone for the first time. For the first time when we left the state. Yeah. So he was home by himself, self-sufficient for 3 days and had to drive himself to work and whatever. And so yeah, we downloaded like 360 and he's a good driver, but he got into an accident a little while back. And so there was a part of me that was like, I was watching him drive to and from
Did
work.
the drone get footage?
No.
Wow.
No, but this Life 360 app. I mean, it will tell you exactly how fast they're driving and where they are. And
so it's not like Find My Friends.
No. Well, it's even more. Yeah, it's like that, but more.
Yeah.
And it is, it's following them. I was the other day, my wife's a flight attendant, and when she is gone, she's gone. When she's at work, she's gone. Mm-hmm. And so it's around 6:00 and I'm telling my kids, I'm like, what do you guys, do you guys want some fast food for dinner tonight? I try to make dinner while she's gone, and they're like, yeah. And so I go over to Chick-fil-A and I just get this text from my wife. I think Chick-fil-A is a great choice for dinner. She was watching me. And then I go to pick up my son at work and he's like, hey, you were speeding on the way here. And so he's watching me as much as I'm watching him. And so
did like the Apple AirTags count? Because we've got a buddy that we work with, and he was like, oh yeah, I was going to put an AirTag in like my kid's bag because they were on a field trip. And then I asked ChatGPT, is this okay? And they're like, no, you should never track your kids. Don't do that. And I was like, well, it seems like that might be an okay use for an AirTag. You know?
We had our kids microchipped when they were born, and you're just like a dog. And I'm
Like
like
a puppy?
We've got a vet that's a close friend that helped us with that. No.
yeah.
I'm glad to know that was a joke. That's good.
We do the find friends. Like we do that piece. And, all our kids let us track them, except our oldest one who wanted it to stop immediately when he knew it was a thing. So he tracks us, but we can't track him.
So what about, are you a helicopter parent then?
I like the find friends. I feel like, I don't have to text my kids and see if they made it. And they haven't had any problems with it except for the oldest one. So I think there's drone parents where they're all about it. But I think some of it feels like safety to me. So I don't care what we say on the podcast, I'm not going to stop tracking them.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not watching them all the time.
No.
But just occasionally I get hey, so, Luke arrived home, or like I get just a notification, and I'm like, oh, okay. So, but I think it's drone parents would be those ones that are just on it all the time, and if your kids go out with their friends and whatever, and they're where are they now? Where are they now? Where are they going? Where are they going? And I think that's your drone.
Give it space. Yeah, absolutely. Well, circling back to the helicopter parent, and this is drone parents, but I feel like, for me, I can be a helicopter parent when it comes to my kids' emotions. I think when our kids were little, and even now, we were like, it's all about obedience and respecting the parents. And so it was like I had this emotional guardrails, and if they ever stepped out of it, I would helicopter in, hey, knock it off. And I can do that with my daughters. If they get too emotional or whatever, I would helicopter in and try to calm them down, because I'm afraid for them. Like, if you keep going, you're going to get so upset. And we've dealt with some mental illnesses with the kids. And so it's like, I'm all about that. What about you guys? Have you ever tried to rescue, your kids? Try to fix something for them?
No, I don't think I've ever really tried to like rescue my kids. I do think that there's times when I see them struggling and I really want to help, but I try not to like step in, especially with like interpersonal conflict. I really try to stay out of that, because I don't want to be like super rescue dad who puts on his cape and jumps into your little, kid spat and just removes every, possible conflict. I do think that's good for kids to deal with that sort of stuff. So I try to stay out of it, but it's not an easy thing to do for sure.
No, and fixing things, I would. I mean, helping, sure. Fixing things, no. I think we more end up doing things for our kids. Like it's one of those things where, like, just even around the house, like I should have introduced chores more. Like they should be doing bigger chores. And I'm just sort of like, I can get it done faster, so I'll do it.
And do it better.
I'll do it, and I'll do it better. And that's kind of the things that,
You don't have to mess with it. You don't have to hassle with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny that you mentioned doing things for your kids. Like my son, he's perfectly capable of tying his hockey skates, but I go in the locker room before the games and he's 10. I'm like, I'll tie your skates for you. And I start thinking like, how long am I going to do this? Like, you can tie your skates.
He's in the NHL.
Yeah. Like,
going in the
hang
locker
on
room.
there, NHL coach. I got to tie my boys' skates.
Right.
But it's just one of those things. Like, he can do it, but he wants me to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, how long? Like, we go to restaurants now, and I ask the kids, like, order your own food. Like,
That's good.
You know what it says right on the menu. You can order spaghetti just like I can order spaghetti. So you do it.
That's something we did way too long. Like, we did that way too long. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, this leads us, though, to the big question that we're struggling with today, and that is, how do we support our kids without fighting all their battles? It's knowing the difference between letting them struggle and knowing when to step in. That's the balance we're talking about. And we're already talking about, well, should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I tie the skates? Should I track them? And so there's this balance we want to talk about a little bit.
I mean, that's the thing. That's kind of what I go back to is for me, it's hard to just kind of let them stumble through and learn things. It takes more time. It's more painful. You just kind of have to sit there. It's really an act of patience to kind of work through and just sort of let them, like, be alongside them while they're going through pain or learning things. Like, and that's where, that's where I'm just kind of like, you know what, I'll just jump in and I'll do it. Or I like doing it. Like people are like, why don't you have your kids mowing the lawn? And I'm like, because I like doing it.
Yeah,
I like doing it.
I want the lines to be
yeah,
even.
I want the lines. I want it to look
Yeah.
good. I want it to look good. So I think we need to learn how to be patient and just kind of let them go through the stuff. That's probably
and what I've noticed with my kids is they can handle different things in different seasons. And so I don't want to be 2 seasons ahead, if that's the way to put it. I want to just enjoy the season that we're in and not heap too much on them. I think about it in like weightlifting terms. If your kid can lift 5 pounds, you know, maybe it's okay to ask them to lift 7, but if you're asking them to lift 30, that's not good. But I also don't want to assume they can't do it, if that's the way to put it. Like, I know that my son can mow the lawn. It's good to let him try and do those sort of things. I don't know if he can like trim the hedges or something, but like, I don't want to assume he can't, you know, I don't want to assume that my daughter can't do things. So that's something that I'm working through in my head. Like, how do I start seeing the possibility of you being able to accomplish some of these things and then giving you the chance to do it? Because I think we get in our own way sometimes, like you said, just doing stuff for our kids because it's faster. They're not going to learn any skills if we keep doing stuff for them.
I did that way too early with lawn stuff. I was like, if you got a large lawn, so I'm like, I can't care that much. Let's go. And my second son, I put him out there with a trimmer, and it had a cord, and he hit the cord. It didn't kill it, and I was like, and I see him, and he's already in his head, and I was like, it doesn't matter, it's good. I put some tape around it. He did it again, and then I see the tears come out of his face, and I'm like, okay, that's on me, bud. Mm-hmm. That's on me. I risk, electrocution because I was tired of trimming. So that's on me. So let's talk about some action steps. How do we strike the balance between stepping in and then letting them struggle?
Let's start with, I think, what we're not saying. And we're not saying back off altogether, give up. Mm-hmm. There's a new parenting trend going around called FAFO, which basically means F around, find out. I'm sorry I didn't say it the real way.
Forget around and find yeah. Oh, yeah.
For you, Bobby, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what it means. Yeah. And it's basically just kind of like go out there and hit it and see what happens. And there is something to be said for some natural consequences. That's not, but this is, I think there are a lot of parents that kind of use this as just go out there, and it's a little bit probably lazy. It feels a little bit lazy in my opinion.
Is it a reaction to this helicopter thing?
Probably.
This is,
yeah.
So we
go to the other extreme.
Swing it all
it's
the way
fully
over
hands off.
Yeah.
Just, I'm done. I'm going to back out and you do it.
Go figure it out. Okay. Figure it out. And probably these are the parents that you need to remind them at 10 o'clock that they have kids, like
you're running those service.
It's one of those things. It's like, okay, this extreme, like our culture is so into extremes. Okay. There are people over here doing this extreme thing. So I'm going to prove so much that I'm not that way. I'm going to come on the way over here. And so we need to find a healthy balance. And I think the first thing that we need to figure out is when to step in. And so look, if kid is dealing with abuse, if he or she is unsafe, if they're sick, whatever, those are the times when we step in, and plenty of other times. There are times when they just really need some help. We don't need to take the ball out of their hands, but there are times when these are the times we need to step in and just kind of take over. But if they can handle it themselves, let them handle it themselves. I mean, maybe tying the skate, fine. When he gets to be 14, he'll be strong enough to pull that thing. Yeah. If you were tying his regular shoe at age 12, 13, maybe that's the thing.
It's really the waxed laces. Like they're hard. They're hard to pull.
They are. They're hard to pull.
You tie that boy's shoes
forever.
He'll tell you to get away pretty soon.
Do they make Velcro skates? Do you know? That'd be kind of cool.
Do not. No, they wouldn't be very good.
No, they wouldn't. No. So it kind of sounds to me like you're describing something I was thinking through a couple weeks ago at a hockey game, actually. My son got yelled at by a much bigger kid during the game. And so I don't know why it really didn't look like that big of a deal, but the yelling was pretty intense, right in your face sort of thing. My son was significantly smaller than this kid. And I was in the moment, I was like, all right, well, am I going to be that parent that walks over to the bench and tries to separate these two little kids during the game? Or am I going to just let this play out? And I was like, this is hard, but is it too hard? And I think that's the distinction for parents. Good. If it's hard, let it ride. If it's too hard, step in, because I don't want my kids to have to deal with too hard too soon. Hard is okay. They're going to learn lessons when things get hard, but too hard, I want to be involved in that part of it.
I had a similar thing that happened. My son played hockey too. It was his favorite sport. And so we got involved in this league, and there was a kid on his team that was bullying. Cursing him out, shoving him
a
off.
Teammate or
teammate.
Wow.
Like shoving him down the bench. They would normally come off the ice, and then they would line up on the bench, and then kind of go in line. And this kid would like kind of shove him sort of out of the way. And I watched the coach an entire game do absolutely nothing. In fact, favor that kid and another kid. And I was so infuriated that I told my son, I was like, let's go out to the car. And so we had a discussion. I'm like, okay, go ahead, tell me what. And he just kind of went off for a little while. And I said, okay. I said, here are the choices that you have. I'm like, number one, I can talk to the coach of the league, and maybe we can get you moved to a different team. Two, you can walk away from hockey if you don't. You can walk away from this if you don't want to be a part of it. Three, the next time this kid says anything to you, you start punching him in the face, and you don't stop until somebody pulls you off of him. I was like, all of them are fine by me, and if you get kicked out of the league, you're not going to get in trouble. But I think that's a little bit of the Philadelphia in me, that kind of solution.
So you watch a lot of Flyers games.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, let's go Broad Street Bullies on this thing. And so ultimately he said, I'm going to walk away. I would rather be in an encouraging environment and play a sport I'm not as passionate about. And I thought, that's fine. It's great for my wallet. But I think giving him the choice and the power to kind of do what he wanted with it, it wasn't my decision. It was his to work out however he wanted to do it. And I was completely fine with the decision he made. So I think sometimes we just need to give our kids some decisions.
I love that. So just giving them choices. So this is that balance, right? Like I'm going to help them process, but at the end of the day, I'm going to let them choose. That's good. I think there are some times definitely we know I'm going to have to step in. Like I'm going to have to do something. When I was thinking about this episode, I thought I'm pretty excited about part of this because, I've talked about my daughter and with her permission, her struggles with anxiety and different things. And I look back now and there's been no way that she could have figured those things out. There's no way she could have found her own help. She was so emotional and she just doesn't have the abilities to do that. And so we really fought for her and really fought to find things and find resources. And she's 20. I'm smiling for those of you who are listening. She's 20 and now she's still her. She still struggles with anxiety, but because we were able to step in and because of these amazing people that helped her, she was a camp counselor this summer. And I think like 6 years old to 16, did that. And then every other week it was adults with special needs. And she just crushed it. And it was 24/7 pressure. And I just thought, just so thankful watching where she is and watching, when you do step in. So if your kid is struggling, step in. Yeah. Step in, especially right now with all the anxiety going on in our culture with kids. We're not saying not step in. These are the times you step in.
Yeah. And I think another action step for dads is to really listen, like to do whatever it takes to remove distractions, just clear your mind of all other things when your kid wants to talk and just really actually listen to them because they may be struggling and you just didn't realize the depth of it. I think that's the case. A lot of times we're just so busy. We're going to work. We're doing different things outside of work. We're doing go to the grocery store, all these house projects, whatever. Like there's just things on your mind. And so naturally you become, Mr. Multitask. And that's not good when your kid wants to chat. So I think really listening is probably the best gift you can give to your kids is eye contact and focus and pay attention. And I don't know, at least I'll speak for myself. I know that I get distracted enough to where I'm not really listening. And all of a sudden I look up and say, oh, you were talking to me. Sorry, what were you saying? And they're like, yeah, I was talking to you for like 90 seconds and you were floating around out there in space, not paying attention. So you got to listen.
Been there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think all dads have.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to pretend it doesn't happen, but I do think that listening is a great gift, but also listening is not agreeing. Like we can listen to our kids and they can be struggling with something, but just simply sitting and listening to them doesn't mean that we like affirm whatever is actually happening. Maybe they just see the world improperly and we have to course correct with them. So listening is not agreeing, but it's also a beautiful gift we can give our kids. Another thing that I think is a great thing dads should start, prioritizing in their homes is to help your kids process. You talked about that with your daughter and her emotions. We get an opportunity to do that all the time because we homeschool our kids. So I'm right there at the table trying to work and I can hear my son next to me just like grumbling and wanting to eat his paper because he's so mad at this math. And I'm like, listen, man, like I can help you with this, but I'm not going to give you the answer. And this happened just like 2 or 3 days ago. He's like, how do I do this division problem? I showed him how to do the first one. And I said, step by step, this is how you do it. I'm not doing the next 8. Like you've just been shown how to do it. It's incumbent upon you to like work it out. And you might get some of them wrong. I don't care if you get them wrong, but the process is you doing it and maybe getting it wrong. I'm not going to, lift this for you. You got to lift it. And I think that that's a gift that dads can give their kids too. Let them process it, but help them process it in a way. Up until the point where they are kind of like, hey, why aren't you doing more? Because this is your part of the baton relay. Like you got to run the rest of it.
So this applies to math? This should not apply to math.
No, it applies to math.
Yeah, I'm my kid's math teacher, and it's the blind leading the blind, so I can't even lift for them.
Oh, yeah, because you homeschool, right? And so you're the math teacher?
Well,
yeah.
And it's interesting because we've had this conversation at home before, and my son will say, why aren't you helping? And I'm saying, I'm helping, but just I'm not going to help too much. Like you have to actually like do the work, We had a conversation the other day where he got mad at English. None of the subjects are really, his favorite. but we were having this conversation the other day and we said, just try your best. And he got so mad because when he heard the word best, he heard perfect. And I was like, no, we're not asking you to be perfect. We're asking you to try your best. Like, we'll come back and read what you wrote later on. And if you misspelled some things, I don't care. Like, we'll fix it. But like, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to try your best. And maybe that's something that kids get caught up in. They want to be so good to prove that they're great and they want mom and dad to be proud of them and all that. I don't want to heap pressure on them, but I do need them to process. I need them to do it on their own. I can't just be the one that's holding their hand all the way through life.
Maybe he's worried that you're going to be like, get the paper and be like, this is your best.
But then it comes back around to me to say, hey, if this is your best, like, awesome. Right. How can I help you?
That's great. I think that's what dads need to do, because challenges have a way of, they can zap our kids a little bit. They can kind of take they can take their self-confidence. Like, I'll never forget just kind of sitting in math class or something else and feeling like everybody else got it and I didn't. And then you just had this sinking feeling. And so when they face a challenge, we need to give them encouragement. I think that's kind of something we need to do a lot, is give them encouragement, tell them they can do it, tell them that we believe in them. And one of the things that I think, one of the negatives of stepping in and taking it for them, one of the subtle things we communicate is that we don't believe they can do it. And so by not stepping in and not doing it for them, it's that subtle, hey, you can do this, but we need to do it with our words too. We need to say, hey, I'm right here. Go do it. Go do your best. Go give it your all.
You're talking about encouraging kids. I think for those dads who have neurodivergent kids, there's a lot of emotional stress that comes with that, and a lot of pain for that, and a lot of embarrassment that comes with that, and a lot of shame. I think for us, we've got to really catch them doing something right. But that doesn't involve, I'm going to catch you something doing right because I'm going to do it right for you. Then I'm going to affirm you for what I just did. Right. It is catching them doing something right and helping them not just process what they're doing, but process what they're feeling right now. Like, because it's just hard. There's just so much shame there. At the same time, all of our kids, we got to let them struggle. Right. And we have to, again, balance this whole thing of swooping in and supporting them. It's just, again, it's a balance. But I think we need to trust ourselves, to know the difference. Yeah. To really pause and think, I know my kid like nobody does. Dads, you know your kids like nobody does. They're your kids. And I believe that, they're your kids for a reason. So trust your gut on that.
Yeah, my son, for some reason or another, has had a lot of adulting things kind of happen in the past year where my wife and I, like, we have to tell him, like, hey man, you just have a lot of adult growth happening right now. And so he got into an accident last April, and I told him, and he got a ticket because it was his fault. And I told him, I said, here's your one grace. I'm going to pay this ticket, but tickets from now on are going to be all on you. But I went down, I called to pay, and they were like, you got to come down here to the courthouse. And I went down to the courthouse, and I said, so what happens? And I pay this, what happens now? And she said, you have to appear at court in front of the judge. And I said, but I'm paying the ticket. And they said, no, it's our law that, like, if you get a ticket below a certain age, you have to appear before the judge. So we had to go down to the courthouse, and he had to stand before a judge to get judgment on his, so that's a pretty big deal for a 16-year-old. This is, before he had turned 17, this is when he was 16. And I'm like, it's up. I said, here's what's going to happen. It's up to you to go and speak. You're going to have to answer all the judge's questions. I'm not doing it for you.
How's he doing when you're saying all this?
Oh, he's nervous as anything. He's in the car ride over. He was like, I really am scared, don't I? I said, I know. And they're going by alphabetical order. And as they're getting into, our last name is Foster, so as they're getting into the F's, I can see his leg is, shaking.
Bouncing.
But I knew the judge was just the nicest guy in the world. I watch him, I'm like, hey, listen, he's a kind guy. You see what he's doing with all the other 16-year-olds up here. You'll be fine. But he's, and he did great. And
great.
So, yeah.
Let him do it.
Yeah. Rock climbing has kind of become a thing in our house. And we live in Florida. There's no rocks. Like, the biggest hill is 6 feet tall. So, like, there's no like giant things to scale, but there's this indoor rock climbing place by our house, and my oldest daughter has really enjoyed going. And it was interesting. We were talking about how much she liked, and she's like, it's really hard. I was stretching and I could barely reach, and you got to use your fingertips, and you're trying to get to the top and everything. And I said, well, that seems really challenging. She says, yeah, but it was okay because a family friend of ours had gone and he was holding the rope. And she's like, I knew that I was okay because even if I slipped off, I was on the rope. And so it started making me think about that as a parent. Like, it's okay for you to fail, but I'm not going to let you fall. Like, there's a total difference there between you slipping off the rock and you failed, you didn't make it to the top, but I didn't let you fall down and get hurt. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like, we want our kids to fight our battles, try to scale that wall, but know that if you slip, like, I'm here to catch you and you're going to be okay. I'm not going to let you fall, but I'm going to let you fail. And I want you to fail over and over again because that's how you learn and get better. You'll get to the top, but just know that in your pursuit, I'm not going to let you fall.
And you're not going to pull the ropes.
Yeah. And I'm not going to help you either. Like, I'll be there to hold it steady, but I'm not going to hoist you to the top. Then you didn't do any work and you didn't learn. So fail, not fall.
I like that. Mm-hmm. It's a good analogy as we're talking about the balancing of this. That's good. It's good lead into our pro move of the week, which when you're tempted to jump in this week, just pause and say, kind of let them do this on their own. And I think a lot of times we'll see opportunities where we can let them do that. And again, that's age appropriate, but that could be a powerful thing for you and your kid.
And I bet you will have an opportunity this week to do that.
Absolutely. When you start looking for it, it'll probably be there. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. And thank you guys for listening. And if you could do us a favor, if you could just go rate and review the podcast, it'll take 1 minute. It helps other dads to find us. And also, if you've got a question that you want us to dive into, put that in the comments. But most of all, we always want to say thank you for listening. We know you and your kids will be glad that you did.
Thanks again for listening to the All Pro Dad podcast. Behind every episode is our amazing team. Producer, Haley Mawat, audio and video editor, Buck Buchanan, and production coordinator, Corey Walliff. All Pro Dad is the fatherhood program of the nonprofit Family First. Along with our motherhood program, iMom, we exist to help you love your family well. So remember, if you have more questions than answers, then you're probably in the right place. See you next time.